All right, here we are. We are live in the group. We are here with a very special guest today. Kristen, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yay! We are so excited to have you. I know Kristen and I have been, we've been friends. We've been in this online space doing business and stuff for a while, like most of 2020. I feel like, we've been talking and getting to know each other. So I'm really excited. Yeah. And also, welcome to our cash-based practice interview series. I always joke about how it's the world's best name for a video series or a podcast. Yeah. But yeah, so we are going to get going and get talking about, all the things that you've been doing, all your secrets about business and everything. So feel free to share whatever feels good to you. But if it sounds okay, we'll just go ahead and dive into your background, all the things about you, and what led you to where you are today.
Yeah, sure. So like she said, my name's Kristen. I'm currently working all online, but there's obviously a history behind that because I haven't been online forever, for sure. Yeah. I became a physical therapist in 2013, graduated back end of 2013. And I feel like early on, I definitely knew I didn't want to just like be full-time outpatient. I know like my first clinical rotation, I remember being like, I don't know if this is it. I don't love being in the clinic all day. Like I didn't know exactly what that would look like. But anyway, so I kept grinding, going through some steps, figuring out what I wanted to do. It looked a little like I did travel PT for a little bit. I took a permanent job for a bit because I was like, maybe I just need to try this permanent job. Hated it, like hated every second of like being in one place and not like there's a lot of factors to it. But finally started doing some online coaching. It was just very general fitness coaching at the time. And I liked that. I liked being in the online space, having that flexibility. And it kind of led me to, okay, maybe I want to be online. Then I got a little bit more specific into, who do I want to work with, right? We've probably heard you need to niche down. You can't just like help everyone, which I was doing for a while. And then I started slowly transitioning to just helping runners. Now, I guess she didn't say this, and if I'm going way far ahead, if I'm sharing too much, slow me down. I just like kind of sharing my background. But what was I going to say? Oh, I lost my own train of thought. No, I interrupted myself. But no, I started getting the online space, and then also started my own cash-based practice. So I did have a cash-based practice. That definitely came from two different needs. One, just not like a lot of PTs not liking, the regular system and how you had to treat and all the just didn't make sense, from, actually being able to treat patients for what they needed, but also came from a standpoint of being a patient myself and feeling like I wasn't getting the care I needed, like as a runner. So I started my own cash-based practice. And then I'm trying to like make it, because we might dive into parts of this, just kind of not make it super long, but now, currently, so I started run coaching online, slowly transitioned into doing full run coaching along with, I'll do telehealth treating runners online, very specific to runners. But now I also help other clinicians learn how to write running programs and then also start their own online business. So kind of a long history, but I just very kind of go into what led me to where I'm at today. We can definitely dive into any part of that you want, or anything I left out, or anything there.
You are an open book.
Yes, I am. Maybe too open sometimes.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's really cool. It sounds like it's been quite a journey to get to where you are now. And it sounds like that variety that you were craving, like at the very beginning of your career, is something that you've figured out how to do for yourself, because you do a lot of different things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would say I don't like just to do the same thing all day, for sure. That was one thing. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this for 40 more years. I don't know. How long do people usually work? I was just like, oh, I can't 9 to 5 every day do the same thing. I was like, nope, can't do this.
I know. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. And I totally relate to that. And I know a lot of other people are currently struggling with that, or, other people here in the group who have already started their practices. Like that's something that just like rings true for so many of us. And, I think a lot of people who go into therapy tend to be like really active people themselves. And so like just like the thought of having to like stay in one place, even if you're walking around the clinic, you still have to like stand, do your notes, like watch your patient. And it's just like the same thing over and over and over again. It's like a nightmare to think that you have to do that, for the next like 30 or 40 years or whatever. And so, yeah, I mean, like that's definitely like a huge, like pro and possibility for you, like as you're building your own business and being online, you could be wherever the heck you want.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So cool. And so you have been doing running coaching, some telehealth, helping other clinicians with their own practices. Which one is like your number one thing?
My number one thing really, because it leads into other things, honestly, has transitioned and not even fully like meaning it for it to, is helping other clinicians learn how to run coach, and then also just, get their first clients, start their online business. And really that wasn't intended at all. It came from people starting to ask me, hey, like I have this patient and she wants to run a 10K. Can you help me write a plan? And people would be like, one of my really good friends asked me too, and I think they'd always think it'll be like a simple like 20-minute conversation, it will be good, or you can just send me over a plan. And then they would be like, oh, well, this is like actually kind of in depth. And I tried to do it in an hour session once with a good friend, and she was like looking at me like this, like headlights, like in the sense of like, this is way too much to absorb in an hour, and didn't realize how much went into it. And then as I got asked, it was like 3 times in like a 2-week period once, I was like, I'm going to throw together a course. I didn't really know if it was going to go anywhere. And then it definitely became a big need. And so I have noticed that I can help, like my number one, passion, or what I want to accomplish with my business, is to help more runners stay injury free, be able to run, which is ironic right now. I am actually injured right now. Fun fact, guys, it does still happen. But hadn't been injured in 4 years. But anyways, so that is my main goal, but I can actually help more runners by, helping other clinicians help runners, which that's been I'm just sharing because I was actually a little struggle, man. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of giving up a little bit of my own thing to do this. But so that's more my focus in that way. But from doing that comes also, I work with the clinicians that I coach them too, a lot of times as runners. So then that's where I'm helping still on the running side. And I'm still about to announce something today or tomorrow that's going to be specific for runners, not all clinicians. Because I love coaching and I love working with runners. So don't want to ever give that up fully either.
Yeah, it sounds like to me that like the way that you've built things, it kind of combines all the things that you love, but still can be separated if it needs to be.
No, it definitely does. And the cool thing is it like combines like my other, like I feel like 2 big pain points in my life are I've suffered a lot of running injuries myself. So hence the reason to help runners, but then also feeling really unsatisfied in my career early on and what I was doing as a PT, and just feeling like, oh my gosh, I went to school for 7 years, do something I hate, like what the heck? So I feel like it kind of fulfills both those, a lot of times they say I'm still figuring out fully, but your purpose or what the direction you'll take comes from your biggest pains, right? So in a way, that kind of combines those two, which is kind of cool.
That is super cool. And it also sounds like that, probably one of the first things that like a regular run-of-the-mill therapist that has not ever been like a runner themselves or like been a run coach needs to know is that like writing a program, especially like a competition program, probably takes a lot more than you think. It's way more in depth than you think it's going to be. But what other like advice or tips do you have for therapists who are wanting to get into running coaching? Like what are like the 1 or 2 things that they need to know to get started?
Yeah, to get started, number one, you need to know how to write the plans for sure. Like if that's what you want to do, if like, yes, I want to do this, otherwise have someone you can connect with to write the plans. Either way there. And then number 2, let's see, like outside of being able to write the plans, I would say honestly, I used saying like for a cash-based therapist, I don't know why I'm just like blanking here. I would say, I mean, number 2, you need to know how to get your clients and keep your clients. So if you're in a practice, like, you are obviously going to know how to do that. So in that case, what are the options you have open, right? Because this is a way you can have an ongoing client to be able, say, like, kind of like if you have an ongoing fitness program, hopefully if you have that in your cash-based practice, it's a way to keep the client, keep the revenue, business side of things, but also 2, for the patient's own sake, keep them not injured. So just having that system in place of what that's going to look like, probably number 2. You got to be able to write them, and you need to know what your system is. So since this is mainly cash-based therapists, not people just online, that's what I would say for that group of people.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point that you bring up about like having some kind of like ongoing maintenance, wellness, like fitness situation. Like that's definitely something that like I promote to other people, and like I do myself. I have a client tonight who's finishing up like her rehab plan of care, and like we've already talked about, you know, continuing on into strength and conditioning. You know, because like, yes, it's great, her back pain is gone, but she also hasn't worked out in 5 years, you know, and so like the likelihood of those changes sticking if she goes back to the way that things were is not great. And so, you know, like we all know that when, you know, you have somebody that you're going to see and like you have a plan and like somebody else is like holding your hand like along the path, you're way more likely to stick to that plan, you know, and to make sure that those changes are cemented, you know, and keep you in the results that you got. You know, so like I think that that's super important as well, to be like, you know, if you are wanting to rehab people first and primarily, to also have some kind of like framework and option to keep people going, like you said, you know, for the health of your client and for the health of the business.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I feel, I mean, for me, that was I guess a frustration of what I would see in just a normal PT clinic, in the sense of like, cool, we're getting them better, but are we really doing what's best for them? If we aren't, like, hopefully if we have someone to refer them to, like, I don't know, a personal trainer or something, but how often does that really happen? Like, we're not really helping their health and keeping them as injury-free as they can if we don't have some ongoing option for them, right? They're just going to end up back in here. And then, what was I going to say? Also, I feel that, this was the tip I had. I had a tip too. I was just going to say, like, I don't know how you run it and stuff like this, but like if you're going to have an ongoing wellness definitely something to bring up right away at like day 1, like have the frame, like, hey, this is what it's going to look like. And then when we go into, like, call it something cool, like your, whatever you call like the phase after their rehab too. I know that was something I learned early or later into my cash-based practice that would have helped if I knew earlier on, like, to frame it and let them know, hey, this is an option.
Like pre-framing it. I think pre-framing is essential. Like, I think that's one of the best sales skills that you can develop and like be aware of and add into your process. You know, like right from the get-go, whether it's, you know, your consult or evaluation, you can say like, hey, I can fix your problem, you know, and like, most of my clients do continue on into a maintenance phase that, you know, doesn't have to last forever, but even if it only mirrors the number of sessions that you started with, you'll be able to maintain the results that you got long term. You know, versus things just going back to the way that they were. You know, does that sound okay to you? You know, like, is that something that you would be open to discussing when the time comes up? You know, and usually everybody's totally fine discussing it. You know, and then you kind of just go from there. But that's super important. So excellent tip, Kristen.
Yeah, I feel I've learned that from experience. You're like, oh crap, like I'm on last day. Okay, we're discharging. Oh, by the way, like it would be really good to work together, you know. And, you know, it might come off the wrong way. So
yeah, absolutely. And if they're expecting it, you know, then they know it too. And like, you'll be able to at least like have a discussion about it. So even if like they aren't like gung-ho to buy like another session or another like 6 or 10 sessions or whatever, you know, maybe they agree to like once a month for the next 3 months.
Exactly.
You know, or something like that. So yeah, cool. So number one question that I definitely get all the time, and I'm sure that you do too, where the heck do I find clients, especially if I'm online?
Yes. So where do you find clients? So Definitely for me, it's by having an active social media presence, but then also by interacting with other people that are the people you want to work with. I mean, and not just, posting, but actually actively, either, commenting on their stuff, having a relationship and, messaging with them. For me has been the number one place that my clients, I guess, for actually more on the clinician side of helping clinicians who work with runners. I have a few different tips for working with runners themselves. That's been a little different, but for me, my social media presence has been the main thing for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that like if you're going to have an online business, at least like as of today, November 16th, 2020, social media needs to be part of your strategy, because it's a free and like really easy way to get in front of a lot of people. And like you said, not just like post stuff, or post exercises, but actually engage with your audience and like make new relationships, make new friends, and open the door to different opportunities.
Yep. No, definitely.
Would you say that like runners are on like one platform versus another?
No, yeah, that's a good question. Going like specific to runners for like anyone working with runners. Definitely, I would say IG in the sense of, there's a ton of people have running accounts, but they literally post their workout every day, right? They're on Instagram to connect with other runners. So definitely on IG. There's also a number of running groups out there that people are part of. Like, I have, actually someone that I've coached, like she has a beginner runners group, right? And there's all beginners. So people you can have common interest in. So places like that as well. One thing I've thought of, but I haven't actually done it or looked into myself. For any runner listening, they'll understand this. There's a platform called Strava that you upload your workouts into. There's people that are in like that are on Strava like that too, so that could potentially, but I've never actually done anything like that. But
that's cool because like I've used Strava before, and it's usually just like I'm like, oh, I hiked 6 miles, great, but it is supposed to be like kind of social too.
Yeah, and it can be like, I do know of coaches who have made it social. Like, say if anyone is listening as a group, like they will have like a Strava group for all their coaching clients or something like that.
Cool.
So you can kind of have that community too. So
yeah, and that's definitely something that's really nice, especially with COVID and everything,
right?
To be able to find like that kind of community,
right?
And I really like that you brought up like that group about beginner runners. So like that's something that, you mentioned at the beginning that's really important when you're first getting started is like finding a niche.
Yes.
What advice do you have for people who want to work with all walks of life and niching down?
Yes. Definitely you have to find a niche or niche, however you say it, niche. And that's one of like the not hardest things, but too, for any of working with people who are just getting started with their businesses. I know like I'll definitely have people that are I just don't want to niche down, and finally they give in, but they know they've heard it. But it like trying to serve everyone. And I've tried that before way back when I was just doing, wellness coaches. For one, yes, it's going to make it harder for you to find your ideal clients, to find clients in general, but also you're going to get clients that aren't the people who you want to even work with when you do that too. Like you're not going to enjoy working with them too. So like I can just tell you from personal experience, like, yes, you definitely need to niche down. It just makes a difference for your clients and for yourself, for your business, for finding them. So
yeah. And I think you bring up a good point that like you might like be attracting people that aren't like your ideal clients or that you don't really like to work with. And I feel like when you're first getting started with your business, you feel kind of obligated to work with anybody who comes your way. And then the next thing you know, you have a caseload full, like half full of people that you're like, well, I don't want to see them, and then it's like, well, I didn't get into business to be like miserable with the people that I'm working with.
Yes.
But I think like sometimes it's kind of hard to have like that like insight or perspective to it when you're first getting started.
Right.
I guess like that's another question that I have for you. I'm curious as to what you think, and it's kind of putting you on the spot, but like, how do you like when you're first getting going and you're like, I need to make this business work, how do you like not get ahead of yourself or overwhelm yourself and you're just like, yeah, I have to do everything? Like,
Yeah.
what do you teach your clinicians?
Yes. Well, I will say I am personally one person that gets overwhelmed easily. So I can share that experience of like, oh, like I need to do this and this, and then nothing happened. For me, the biggest thing is like, I mean, it might seem really simple, but it's just like make a list, have like no more than 1 to 3 things you need to do, and do that and nothing else. Like otherwise, you're just going to be spinning your wheels on the million things you need to do and feel very unaccomplished. And I know that's what sends me into overwhelm and like I did nothing. So that's what I usually use because that's what works for me. But I can definitely totally relate to that.
Yeah, I know. Like sometimes I'll make a to-do list or I'll like, like this morning I'll sit down at my computer and like pull up my task list. Oh, there's 35 things to do today. And before you know it, I'm like an hour into the workday and I'm like, I need to go take a nap. I can't do this.
I think the other thing is like positive self-talk too, because like for me, like I'm really good at like that's one of the big things I have to, have had to work on, like just basically thoughts, and it would never be like evident necessarily, but it's like oh, you're sucking it up, Kristen. Oh, you're failing. You didn't get this done. You didn't do this. Okay, stop focusing on what you didn't do and like what did you do? Like for me, at least personally, I guess that's more on a personal level, but yeah.
No, I think that's awesome because I've talked to a lot of people recently about like their experience with perfectionism and feeling like they always have to be like right on the ball. All of their posts have to be perfect, and I think that definitely goes along with like being productive. It's like, okay, did I get like all 35 things done today? Oh, I only did 30. Well, like that's not good enough,
right.
Which is just like insane, like. Of course you're doing a good enough job. I mean, you're building a business from scratch.
Right.
Like that takes a lot. So like having that positive self-talk is really, really important. And like, is that something that you work on with the clinicians that you help too? Like, do you help coach them through that?
I would say it's not necessarily like a specific session we're going to have no matter what or anything, but if it comes up, like I have a mini mastermind of students that are ongoing, and I would see more for like them because we've been working together longer and get more in depth to things. Then if I see that or they're expressing those concerns, that might be something that we address. And a lot of times that'll come from like sharing on personal experience too with them and stuff like that.
Yeah. But I think it's hard to remember, especially for all of us overachievers, that like nobody is expecting anything from you.
Right.
Like at all. Like it's good enough for everybody around you that you're just like alive and existing. Like that's good enough. And for some reason, like for us inside our own brains, it's like really hard to remember that.
Yes. Definitely. Can relate to
that. But yeah, I mean, nothing really like exposes all of that, like negative self-talk or, like more negative personal habits than building a business, which is one reason why I love it. Cause I feel like I've grown so much as a person.
Yeah. You have to, like, if you don't, then your business doesn't grow. And like, I've seen that directly happen both ways. It's just like, you have to constantly be working on yourself, which is awesome, right? It's so awesome. But it's hard sometimes. I mean,
I know. Yeah. And it is. And it's a balance. And I think like another thing too is like remembering that it's a long game.
Yes.
It's not just like how many clients can I get this week and like day-to-day kind of thing. It's remembering that like everything that I'm doing this week and this month is going to impact my business down the road.
Yep. Kind of like running. I think it's cool that my business has running in it because like can relate them. Like I think I had one of my courses is like business is an ultra marathon is what I think I called it because I was like, all right, you guys are all runners that are going through this. That's what you need to remember. It's not even a marathon, it's an ultra marathon. So no.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. That's definitely the truth. Cause I mean, it goes until forever.
Yes.
Well, cool. So, I know that we have definitely talked about a lot of different things to help with different aspects of your business, but, like if you were to consider like what is like your number one or two tips for somebody who's in this phase of either like getting started from scratch, and then part two is people who are in it but struggling like to build their caseload. Like what are like your top 1 to 2 tips for like these people?
Okay. Yeah, struggling, or they're either like they need to build their caseload regardless.
Yeah.
Well, number one, just because we're just coming off of it, and then I'll think of my number two. I would just say, like, coming off of, we were just talking about it kind of in our topics, because anytime I've been stuck or really early on, and then also I've had actually a really recent time that I was a little stuck too, is just really working on yourself and figuring out like it just comes down to figuring out what you really want in your business and your life, and then also just back to the personal development and working on yourself, I feel like is key. And that can come in so many forms, whether it's like going back to the positive self-talk we were talking about back when we were just talking about building a business and everything. And I would say, honestly, I mean, these are just two things that help me the most. Number two would be, getting a coach or having a mentor of some sort who's gone the way you've gone. And not just any coach usually. Like, it's going to be one of two things. Someone that's doing something you want to do exactly, and or someone who's, values and personality. I mean, the best is you have all this, right? You align with their values and personality too. I just feel like that just helps a lot, because you're gonna be able to go along the course where you want to go faster. For me, anytime I've been stuck, or very early on, starting my own, well, really it was cash-based and online practice at the time. Those are two things that have helped me the most, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like a lot more fun when you have like a buddy. So
Yes.
like a coach,
Yes. Yes.
To talk about everything with, and then like not feel so alone. Cause I know like entrepreneurship can be kind of isolating depending on what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think potentially more so in the online space, unless like you're making it like an active attempt at like building relationships and everything, and like having the groups is really, really helpful, because then you know that you're not alone. But having a coach that you meet with regularly is also very good.
We're accountable. Yep.
So that's awesome. Oh, cool. And like I like what you said about, finding somebody to work with who has similar values. And I like to also talk about that with like just you as a business and as a business owner, identifying your own values and what's important to you, so that like when you are marketing to clients, those values are reflected in your marketing materials and messaging. And it'll attract clients to you who have similar values. Such as like punctuality, like as simple as that sounds, like I think for a lot of us here, a lot of us type A personalities, it's really important, and like that's something that you have to like be able to screen for, not punctuality, but like, are your values aligned? Because you'll be a much better and more effective team working as a clinician or a coach and a client or a patient. If you guys are just on the same page as people. So yeah. No, cool. If somebody on November 16th, 2020, were on the fence about starting their own business, what would you tell them?
Well, first off, like, if you want to, like, if you're on the fence and it's something you want to do and it's just fear holding you back, then, I mean, let's do it. I mean, if you really don't want to do it and you're doing it for some other reasons, like, don't do it. But honestly, I would be like, what's holding you back? Like, what are you fearful of? Why aren't you starting? And not just to sound cliche, but I mean, just do it. And like, the worst thing that happens, I don't think it's not even going to work out. I don't think anything doesn't work out unless you just stop trying, honestly. So as long as it's something you want to do, I mean, would you rather sit there and think about it for the rest of your life, or try it out and see if it is the right thing for you or not? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I want to like change the name of this, like, series to the Just Do It like
Yes,
podcast
yes.
because literally what every single person has said
Right.
is just do it. Because I mean, like it's huge and scary. Like I think just like growing up, not many of us are like trained to have a mindset of, oh, I could open my own business one day. It's a
Right.
huge leap to make.
Right.
And especially coming out of like therapy school where you're, spit out to go work at a clinic and like that's it.
Yep.
But there are just like so many more of us doing this now, and it's so much easier to connect with other like therapy business owners or like fitness coaching business owners that there's like almost no excuse. Like if it is something that you want to do, and like you said, like the worst thing that could happen is like a year from now you find out that you really don't like it, and you just go get a regular job.
Then you don't like it and you got that confirmation and maybe it led you to something else. I think that's the biggest thing with anything. Or I was even thinking this on a couple of questions you asked, and kind of to go along with the just do it. Like I feel like a lot, and for us perfectionists, like sitting here thinking about doing things, it's something I've learned the hard way, is just sometimes you don't have the answer, you don't know what the perfect option is, but by doing it, it's going to lead you to the answer. Like even if you make the wrong decision, it's wrong, I'm putting quotations up, mark fingers up, it's gonna lead you where you want to go quicker than if you're just sitting here thinking about it. Like what good is that doing?
Yeah, exactly. You learn from it. You learn something about yourself, you learn like a new skill, you learn what not to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah. So everybody who's listening, start your business.
Do it. Everyone should know. I know it's not obviously always for everyone, but it's like I feel like everyone should try, or if you ever have had any inkling, like go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like obviously like the two of us are like head over heels, like happy to help you, like along the process. And there's so many other people out there, who are so willing to help you. You just have to ask.
Yep.
Which is another skill you have to learn, is to ask for help.
Yes. Oh yeah. Another one of those that I'm not.
Yeah. Well, awesome. So cool. So kind of the last little segment here is self-promo time. So what do you have going on and how can we support you?
Yeah. So best places to find me, first of all, IG for most people listening, that's Kristen, Kristen _ Run Your Life. Or I am on Facebook as well, just personal profile page. Kristen, just spelled my name, Schulz, SCHULZ. Feel free to friend me. But main things I have going on are things we were talking about earlier, which is if you are a clinician who wants to learn how to write running programs, I can help you out with that. So feel free to reach out. And even if it's just sending you resources, whatever that might be. But I do have a course on that. And then I also do help clinicians, specifically usually in the run coaching space, who are looking to get started with their run coaching business and really understand what they need to do in the online space to do that. So those are my main coaching programs that I have, and always happy to talk anything, running, business, and coaching. And I also coach runners, and do telehealth online. So if that's ever anything someone wants to ask me about too, I have that too. But those are the spots to find me. Oh, and I think the coolest thing to share is actually that I have a podcast. So if you want to check me out, Breaking 5, a running podcast, you can find me there as well, which is really a cool mix of really everything I do. I'm just sharing about, but interviewing runners, but also entrepreneurs and PTs who work with runners. So kind of a combination there. So
many things.
Yes.
I learned so much about running. And I mean, like, that's definitely not something that we learned like a ton about in school too. So it's really cool that you are jumping into this niche and help a lot of people.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. It's fun. It's fun to be working in your passion. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for being here, Kristen. Yes. It has been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you for having me on. That was great.
Yeah, absolutely. And for all you guys watching, listening on the replay, thank you for being here, and definitely reach out to either myself or Kristen if you want to start your own business, whether it's coaching or therapy. you just want out of your 9 to 5, let us know and we can help point you in the right direction.
Right.
Totally happy to do so.
We both have a lot of connections too. So whether, even if it's just like, oh, we need to reach out, and then we lead you to the person you need to talk to, you never know.
We know a lot of people. All right, cool. Well, awesome. Right. Thank you again, and hope everybody has a good rest of their week.
Thank you, Morgan.